up here without.
All right, we are ready to begin. Saturday, March 14th, 2026. The snow has not started yet. I'm pleased and privileged to meet Kindahl Larson from the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs. She is the Chief Compliance Officer there. She's got a program that she has presented to veterans on a number of occasions about elder scams. It's nice to have a different topic for a change instead of ice and wars and things like that. And fraud in Minnesota is a hot topic, albeit this is a different subset of fraud. Kindle, just a couple of questions before we let you take over with your presentation. Tell us a little bit about your background, what you do at the Veterans Affairs Department, why, as a compliance officer, this issue is front and center for you, how it became a passion for you. Tell us about all of that. You're mute.
There it is. Okay.
Okay.
It's in a very weird spot and I keep losing it. Like Ron said, I am the Chief Compliance Officer for the state Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs. I'm a 22-year veteran of the Minnesota National Guard. I deployed to Iraq for a total of 13 months. When I came back, I was a little bit lost. And somebody who took some interest in me said that, you should apply for law school. So then I was like, sure, I can do that. No problem. So then I applied for law school, had the military pay for it. And when I got out, I did about 10 years of criminal defense. It's just I'm really passionate about criminal defense work. And
as a former lawyer myself,
yes,
to say I applied to law school, no problem, does not quite ring true.
That's really like, it was kind of like, well, I've been to war. What's my next task?
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
At some point, if you want to comment on war and politics, you're welcome to do that, but that's not our subject today.
Oh yeah, no, if you want to, I mean, I'll come back again and I can talk about my experience and my views as well. But in the
Okay.
end, it was like that's really what happened. It was like, oh, this is going to be no big deal. It wasn't no big deal, but I made it through grit and determination. So then fast forward a few years, 10 years, I start having kids. I'm like, oh, this criminal defense doesn't really work. I can't do trial prep on weekends. So then I go to state service. And I started doing litigation for the Department of Veteran Affairs, but on the wrong side. Like I litigated against residents for their right to stay in our long-term care facilities due to the fact that we couldn't meet their care needs. And so when the position of Chief Compliance Officer opened up, I jumped at it because I really, while it's a noble cause and we have to uphold the law, it wasn't really something that I wasn't doing what my passion is. I did criminal defense. Like my passion was to help people who are in a really bad situation get out of it and move on with their lives. And so it was something where as soon as this position opened up, I was like, well, I have a background in finance. I have a background in IT and computers from the military, and I have a legal background. And so I applied and was chosen for this position. So then one of my first seminars that I went to was a seminar on fraud in, it was like fraud and nonprofit. And the speakers were Erin West, the speaker was Erin West, and she was speaking on her nonprofit, Operation Shamrock. And the goal of Operation Shamrock is to disrupt the abilities for scammers to operate within the United States. And she talked about like what kinds of scams are going on and how much money is being lost. And it spoke to my, my defense of the defenseless. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Well, what I did is I brought the program back. I became a volunteer. And then I brought the program back to the MDVA because we have 7 long-term care facilities and then 1 boarding house for dual diagnosis individuals. And I started doing this presentation for all of them, and everybody really thought it was great So then I reached out to the chief of police for Egan, and then I got connected with Bianca, and then here we are. I have been doing this presentation for mostly senior groups, some veteran groups throughout Egan, and I've even driven to like Detroit Lakes to give the presentation to a veteran group, and everybody finds it very, very interesting and informative. So my passion just keeps going to like bring light to what scams are doing to us here in Minnesota or throughout the nation.
So before you start with your presentation, and we'll basically turn the program over to you this morning, and
Yeah.
people can interrupt with questions. I have two quick ones. One is, where'd you practice criminal defense?
So I practiced in Stearns County as a public defender. I practiced in Farmington, New Mexico as a public defender. And then I practiced in Hennepin County with the Legal Rights Center.
Okay. And then I have two examples of scams that I didn't see referenced in your program. So
Yeah,
let me just give you two quick fact patterns, and you
sure.
can fit them in wherever. The first one happened a couple of years ago when my mother-in-law, clearly a senior person at that point in time, got a purported phone call from her grandson saying, "I'm in jail. I need bail money. Grandma, can you help me out?" She happily, before she did anything, she called us and said, "Is this real? Is this not?" She didn't do anything. Second happened to me a week ago. I got an email that showed up in my junk mail that said, "We have your personal information. If you don't want it to appear on the dark web, send $600." And interestingly enough, it was not in Bitcoin, it was in cash. Uh, I'm a little angry at myself that I even opened this email. I quickly deleted it so there would be no reference to it. Obviously, I didn't respond to it. But I don't see either of those fact patterns quite show up in your structure. So consider that as you're going through and you can
Yeah,
respond to them. So
I do.
take it,
I do talk about the grandma scam. Yeah.
okay, take it
And
away. The
then
show is yours.
thanks. The email one was really interesting. I would classify that one as a phishing email. But it is interesting that they asked for cash as opposed to Bitcoin or some sort of wire transfer.
Uh-huh.
So that I wonder how that would have worked. But yes, I will take it away. Share my screen. Okay, I think this is. Oops. All right. Is everyone seeing the Operation Shamrock
Yep,
PowerPoint? All
it's
right.
there.
Okay, let's see. So I've already talked a little bit about myself. Operation Shamrock is a nonprofit organization created by Aaron West. Aaron has traveled globally to investigate the human trafficking compounds and criminal organizations that are perpetrating these crimes and these scams across the world. This was something that when she was a prosecutor in California, and when she retired, her last like couple years was doing white collar crimes. And what she found is that she was experiencing victims of scams where she could take no action. They were people who had been tricked into giving money to what they thought was an organization or what they thought was a real live human being, and they had lost thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, but there was no prosecution and there was no ability to reach in and get that money back. And so she started Operation Shamrock. And the purpose of Operation Shamrock is to partner with law enforcement and support victims and work with communities to educate the public about these scams. So here's my agenda. Of course, this is really conversational. So please speak up if you have any questions or stories, or you want to change a fact pattern to see how it would play out. I'm really open to bringing light to this very dark crime. We're going to talk about crypto fraud, which is one of the much like the invent of the internet, where the internet was invented, and we thought, oh, this is going to be a great way to share information. It can also be used to harm people, or it can also be used for nefarious activities. Crypto is a similar situation where, oh, this is a great invention because it allows for what it allows for faster moving or money making or investment or whatever. But it also can be used to harm people. We're going to talk about deceptive practices. We're going to talk about crypto scams, and I'll give some examples of them, and then some takeaways. Once I get to the bottom of the presentation, I'll probably skip a few slides, but my slide deck is available to anybody who wants it. It includes all of my jokes, and so it's really for education and prevention of becoming a victim, and then if you are a victim, how to get resources.
And if anybody wants it, Kindle was kind enough to send it to me. I can forward it on. As you get started, I'm puzzled about how much emphasis there is in your presentation about crypto scams. I find crypto to be
Yeah.
impossible to understand. And I would like to consider myself a passively intelligent person.
Mm-hmm.
How can older folks who are subject to scams, who don't understand things, even come to grips with crypto, buying crypto,
Yeah.
finding crypto, understand? I mean, how is crypto even relevant in this context?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. So when I went to the presentation where Erin West was presenting, she brought an officer from the Bloomington Police. I cannot remember his name, but I know it started with a J. It was like Justin or James. Okay, we're going to call him Officer Justin. And Officer Justin got up to talk about an interaction he had with a woman who was about 70 years old. He's going about his day as a police officer. They get a phone call. He gets dispatched to a gas station. And at the gas station, he walks in and he sees a woman who's probably about 5 foot tall, sobbing on the phone with someone trying to put money into a crypto ATM. So what ended up happening is, we'll call her Norma, because I don't remember her name either. Norma had gotten scammed by somebody who was in a human trafficking compound over in Thailand or Cambodia. And again, I don't remember all of the details of this. She had a relationship with this person. She thought they were real. She thought that she was helping them. And so this person had convinced her to go and take $10,000 out of her bank account and walk it over to a gas station that had a crypto ATM in Bloomington, Minnesota. This person talked her through how to make a username and password, and then how to put money, real physical money, into the machine so that Norma could transfer that money of $10,000 in Bitcoin over to this individual who needed $10,000 because of whatever scam reason they chose to use. So that is how crypto is relevant, because
You mean there is a thing called a crypto ATM? I don't think I
yes,
have ever heard of those
they
things.
are in gas stations all over the state of Minnesota. In
Wow.
2024, they were legalized.
Wow. So the legislature should make them illegal?
Hmm. That is my view.
Okay.
That
I know
I'm
we
working with the
have
city of Eagan to get them kicked out of the city of Eagan.
I know we have a legislative candidate and a city councilman on our call this morning. So you're speaking to some people with some opportunity to do something.
Crypto ATMs are dangerous because they can be used for nefarious purposes. And
Uh-huh.
as I'll probably repeat in my program, the scammers know more about us than we know more about them. They know where we live. They know they can get access to our bank account information. They can get access to a lot. They know they target people. And they also just kind of reach out and try and touch everyone. So the amount of information. So this individual, and I'm kind of getting a bit off topic, but I think it's very important. This individual was able to convince Norma. She knew where Norma lived. She knew where the nearest crypto ATM was. She knew where Norma's bank was. And she gave her instructions. And the reason that the gas station called 911 is because Norma was crying. She was on the phone with somebody who was clearly giving her directions, and they didn't know what to do.
Oh my goodness. I see
So the
Susan
gas
Lundberg.
station attendant called 911. Oh, go
Susan has
ahead.
her hand up. You're muted. There you go.
I am wondering what would the actual use, the good use of crypto machines be?
I can't answer that. I think that with maybe a younger population, it would be the ability for them to interact with crypto, because populations do not pay bills, but they transfer money and they invest in crypto. So it's just to facilitate them being able to go and put their money in and then make a transaction or whatever. I personally don't see the benefit. I don't invest in crypto. I think that the ATM is the risk is not worth the benefit, and that if you want to do crypto ATMs, let's put them in banks. Let's put them in some place that's safe for a financial transaction. I think the ATMs also, and I'd have to look at the legislation, which I have not, but I think the ATMs allow you to withdraw money as well. So like if I have money in crypto and I need like $10 or I want to take out some money, then I can go to this crypto ATM, put in my username and password and say, I'll do a withdrawal.
And you may have noticed in the chat, Gary Hansen, Eagan City Councilman, said that they're planning on banning ATMs,
Yes.
crypto ATMs. Gary, do you want to make any comments about that? What the status of that ordinance might be? Whether the city council has the power over ATMs to do anything about this? It's a jurisdictional issue in my mind. But anyway, do you have any comments?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Yeah, our city attorney advises that we do have the authority to ban crypto ATMs. We've just heard too many fraudulent issues related to them, and we want to remove that problem from the city of Eagan. So we are in the process of banning them by ordinance.
Wow.
And I did send my presentation. I did a presentation for the city of Eagan just recently, and then they did talk to me about that, and I fully support that.
Wonderful. Okay. Keep going.
Okay. So in this slide specifically, we're very concerned with the anonymity, the irreversibility of crypto practices, of these practices that are siphoning a lot of money away from the citizens of Minnesota. Artificial intelligence has exploded the scam world and made things just more difficult to discern that you're being scammed. This isn't a, hey, I'm the prince of some country, please hold this money for me, where you're like, oh yeah, this is absolutely a scam. The artificial intelligence that is being used, the sophistication of the technology that these scammers have is way more than we have the defenses for. So for instance, Aaron West showed us one of the compounds, and these are human trafficking compounds where people are plucked off the street and forced to do these scams. They're punished if they don't bring in money, right? They have tech teams, they have professional technical teams to create these scams. And I'll talk about a specific scam in which they use their tech teams. They all had Starlink. So you saw this compound. She showed a picture. There's a compound. It's surrounded by barbed wire. There's guards with AK-47s, and there's Starlink all across the top. They have very fast internet. They have very highly skilled professionals helping with these scams, right?
Where
so
is
we
this?
So I think it was Thailand or Cambodia. But I can get that information and I can get that picture. But Erin West has podcasts in which there's one in the Philippines that she went to. And the podcast was, not the podcast, but the recording was all about, because this Philippine human trafficking compound had just been invaded and shut down by the police. And so she went through and videotaped everything, where there was like long tables. They had playbooks. They had a book next to them in which they used to, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but they use a playbook in order to interact with you. Like what you say to them or what you send to them through text or other sort of messaging, they use their playbook to then decide their next step in order to hook you so that they can bleed you for money. But their lives depend on it, right? So like it's this really vicious cycle. Now, I'm not saying that anybody should give money to a scammer because they know that they're being human trafficked. What I am saying is that there's victims everywhere in this type of crime. Okay, so I'm gonna continue on if there's no more questions. Okay, so we talked about crypto. So crypto is a form of money that is not tied to any centralized bank, and it has no physical form. It's usually valued by the creator, right? So therefore, it's its value depends on the kind of like the popularity, but like, you know, how Bitcoin has gone up and come down and gone up and come down. It's just dependent on the investment. And then the use of crypto is a fraudulent scheme that exploits cryptocurrencies or digital assets to deceive individuals or businesses for financial gain. All right. Oh, these are some of the deceptive. Oh, I got ahead of myself because I apologize. My thing is one ahead so that I know what's coming up. They use a lot of social engineering, which is reaching out and touching people and talking to them and getting to know them and engaging them in conversation and filling a void that they discover in that person. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through a specific example, but their tactics are malicious and calculated and practiced. And we need to know that. We need to know that this is a job for them, and they are very good at their job. The international criminal syndicates that perpetrate these crimes use human trafficking. They operate in countries that have lax law enforcement and weak governments. The organized crime syndicates have highly sophisticated technology. They prey on victims. They are ruthless, and they will take everything from a victim, including their will to live. Okay. Moving on. So I'm going to talk about, I throw a lot of statistics out, and if the statistics become overwhelming, let me know, and I will just move on from them. You can always go back and look at them if you want to get my slide deck. But let's talk about Minnesota cybercrime statistics. So we're going to start with the big umbrella. Cybercrime is any sort of internet crime. My statistics come from the IC3 database, which is the Internet Crime Complaint Center. This was initiated in the year 2000 and has had over 1 million complaints, and that was last year. And they look at any sort of internet crime. In 2022, the total cybercrime was $103 million. So the cost of cybercrime, or the loss, was $103 million. And that jumped to $193 million in 2023. And then now we're up to $203 million. And the total number of victims for 2024 was 9,264. When you look at these crime statistics, you have to understand that, number one, this is all cybercrime, but you also have to understand that this number is low, probably about a third. Can anyone tell me why this number would be low? Any the reported dollar amount or the reported victims? Why would that be low?
People are embarrassed.
Exactly. This is a crime that uses shame, and people are embarrassed to say that they've been duped. They feel stupid. They are angry at themselves. Maybe they were lonely to begin with, and now they're very lonely because they've cut themselves off from anybody. So they say that this is about a third of the total reported loss. Okay, so in Minnesota, this is cybercrime statistics. In 2023, the IC3 actually broke off. This happened before, but and in 2019 or 2018, the IC3 started breaking off the age of the statistics. And so now we're looking at 1,230 Minnesotans over the age of 60 losing $54 million. Now, this is all cybercrime, right? But this is generational wealth, and this is only Minnesota. $54 million in 2023, $52 million in 2024. These are not aggregate numbers. These are new complaints, new money lost. This is generational wealth walking out the door. Okay, and so now we're getting into cryptocurrency. This is why cryptocurrency is so dangerous. Positive benefits, but like it does have a risk of being abused. In 2023, 976 Minnesotans lost $75 million in cryptocurrency. And then in 2024, 1,852 Minnesotans lost $91 million. When we're talking about percentages, and you go back to like the total crime in cybercrime, you're talking about 13% of the total victim number losing 38% of the total reported amount. So a very low victim population is losing a lot of money. So I'm going to talk about some of the specific types. And I'm sure that everyone has examples. I would love to hear them. If you have a story, I would love to include it in my presentation, because these personal stories really do mean a lot to other people who need to hear this. So we're talking about investment scams. The scam got its name from the fattening of a pig before slaughter. It's the most popular and successful scam in the world currently. It deals with cryptocurrency and gold investments, right? The scammer will groom the victim with affection or luxurious lifestyle or demonstrations of fake profit and wealth to lure the victim in, and then use deceptive tactics to get the victim to invest money into a fake cryptocurrency platform. So now, since I do understand that maybe I need to explain a little bit more about cryptocurrency. A cryptocurrency platform is like an investment platform. And then you have cryptocurrency wallets, which is where you hold your money. Okay. When I talk about a fake cryptocurrency platform, I'm actually talking about the scammer's wallet. So they hide their wallet within this fake platform so that when you invest money in what you think is a good investment, you're actually taking money out of your wallet and you're putting it in theirs. And as soon as that money is transferred, they can transfer it within seconds, milliseconds even, and transfer it and transfer it and transfer it and transfer it until there's no trail left. This is a long con. They will talk to their victims on average between 45 and 60 days before even introducing an investment. They spend those 45 and 60 days making you want a lifestyle like theirs. These schemes are elaborate. They will go as far as to create a fake life that is traceable and verifiable to the savvy investor. They create illusions of a plush life. For instance, a scammer may post a picture on her Facebook or whatever other social media platform of her fake self. We don't know if it's a man or a woman, but it's a picture of a woman and she's right next to the Eiffel Towers. And so a savvy investor who thinks that this is a real person will look at that picture and look at the metadata and the geotag, and it will be correct. The geotag will say right next to the Eiffel Tower on May 4th, 2019, and the metadata will reflect that, right? It's because they have the sophisticated technology to falsify that information, and then they post it as if it's real. So the savvy investor does their due diligence and they're like, oh no, this person is actually real. Look, they posted this picture and all of this stuff checks out. The scammers, as I said before, they have playbooks, and their interactions with you or the victim depend on whether you are a man or a woman, your marital status, what your interests are, where you live, if you have kids, and so many other factors. They have teams of computer engineers to help build these fake profiles, fake platforms, and fake lives. They can create deep fakes. They can use AI to trick you into believing the scammer is a real person when it's actually not even a human. And then they control the information so that you think this investment is real. So, and I'll talk about this in a little, but they'll send information that is verifiable to you. But guess who controls that information? The scamming community. The tech team created all the information and then added those details to make it look real. They are trying to get you to trust them so that you will invest your money. So let's talk about how it works.
Why do people fall for this? I don't get it.
I can't answer that.
I get Facebook invites from these gorgeous, voluptuous women all the time. They're fake.
Yeah, they're fake.
I never friend anybody.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, let's talk through like how it works, and maybe I can't answer that. I don't know. I myself have engaged with a scammer, not knowing that they were a scammer, not losing any money, but just that start of the conversation before I realized that like I just wasn't going to befriend this person. But let's start and go through a scam. Okay, so the first thing is that the scammer makes contact with the victim, and as we said, this can happen a phone call, like an errant phone call, like, oh, I'm sorry, I dialed the wrong number. How are you? I call the errant text message. I get all kinds of those where like I just get a random text message of something that I don't know what this is or who this is, right? Or they contact you on social media, dating apps, LinkedIn, or messaging emails, right? So then number two is once they've got your attention, they sent you an email or a text message. The text message one is the easiest for me to explain. I get an email, hey, Fanny, how you doing? Nice to see you last night. I write back, I'm sorry, this is not Fanny, right? So then the scammer is going to use tactics to continue communicating with you. They're going to try and find out information about you to decide what to exploit in order to gain your trust. They invest time in understanding your financial situation, your family dynamics, and they work to build an emotional connection. They're grooming you, right? So the individual continues to text me, and I text back. They text me, oh, it's so hard to meet nice people. You seem like a nice person. We could be friends. My name is Miranda. What's yours, right? They're just trying to find out information on you. So then at the third point, at some point, the scammer will move the conversation to a non-traceable encrypted method like Signal, Wire, Snapchat, or Telegram. They are trying to develop this relationship, but they need to be on a platform that is encrypted and where the evidence goes away. They're going to continue to talk to this person for another 45 to 60 days, sprinkling in about their life of grandeur, posting about the incredible things that they're doing, traveling, the money that they're making. And it's all because of a crypto investment. They're building a lifestyle that the victim wants. So then we're getting to step 4. The scammer will offer an investment advice or an investment opportunity. They may even pass you off to an uncle who's an investment banker. They're going to encourage you to invest in a cryptocurrency or gold, and they use these because the transactions are nearly untraceable, and mostly irreversible. But they are friends with you, and so they want you to profit like they do. They're going to encourage a small investment at first to get you comfortable with investing. You're going to see that small investment take off. They'll even allow you to withdraw a little bit of money so that they keep you investing more. It's a psychological game. It's a psychological hook. So they want you to trust them more than your most trusted friend or family. They want you to do things against your better judgment because you have this relationship, you have this psychological connection with you. They're going to use urgency to get you to invest more. They're going to say like, oh, this is a one-time thing, or this is an insider tip, you should invest. And so then you're going to invest more. And I'm not saying anyone in this audience is going to invest, but this is how the interaction goes. You invest a little, you see that go off, and then they're like, oh, you could invest so much more and you can earn so much more money. They're playing off greed, they're playing off need, they're playing off, the elements of this person. You might have somebody who's spent their entire life scraping by paycheck to paycheck, and they just want to have more money, or they just want to leave a legacy for their kids, right? Because they grew up poor. So like this affects everyone. Okay, so now you've invested this money. Many people invest their entire life savings because they think that it's going to make profits like have been demonstrated. And then the scammer is going to try to get you to invest more and more and more and more. They're bleeding you dry. They're trying to get you to put all of your money in. They may even suggest that your continued relationship with them is dependent on you continuing to invest money. Okay, so now the scam's done. The victim's like, oh, well, I've got enough. I want to withdraw my money. And the scammer goes, oh, yeah. Unfortunately, for you to withdraw your money, you have to pay a new money to pay a tariff or a tax. And that's when people go get a new mortgage on their home, or they go get a payday loan so that they can pay money in because their whole life savings is sitting now in this fake cryptocurrency platform. So I'm just going to talk about a few examples. And this is like the one that I've seen, like an errant text message. Hey, Fanny, how about we go golfing tomorrow? And then the person writes back, I think you have the wrong number. And then Fanny, this person, Miranda, eventually her name is, oh, I'm so sorry. I dialed the wrong number. You are such a friendly person. My name is Miranda. What's your name? They're trying to keep you interacting. So that's step 1. So now once you get to step 2, they're going to move it to an encrypted messaging platform. You can see in this particular one, it's an extension of the first one. Do you have Telegram Messenger? They're trying to move it to Telegram Messenger. And oh, by the way, look at how beautiful I am. I'm Miranda, and this is me. except this particular person is a European model, and this exact picture was lifted off her Facebook. So this is a real scammer talking to a real person. That's just screenshots. And now you've moved it to an encrypted platform. This is a Telegram platform. So what you can see in this one is, this is an example in the middle. It says disappearing messages were turned on. So the scammer is controlling how long those messages, the evidence stays up. And then you can see at the bottom, I'm pretty sure Wilbur is the scammer. And he talks about how JJ analyzed the stocks of the quantum computing concept very accurately. He's giving him, he's praising him and saying, "Oh, what a great investor you are. You're so savvy. You should really invest more." Okay, so now we're at another scammer, but this is also a Telegram messenger. And you can see that they're introducing the scam, right? And then showing the continued increase, and then showing transactions that they are making. And then you can see on the last one that they're saying, "Of course, we are such good friends. I am happy to share with you." So these are like real live examples of what have been interactions. So Operation Shamrock has a woman, her name is Alex. And Alex's job, she's from New York, and Alex's job is to disrupt money laundering operations for terrorist organizations. And so she's really cool, but she is the one that produced all of these examples, because she works with, she spends all day long kind of trolling these types of scammers and trying to figure out where they're located. The end game is your money is gone. You may have debts that you cannot repay. Your housing may be in jeopardy because you might have taken out a mortgage on your house. If you weren't isolated before, you're certainly isolated now. And friends and family are angry with you for losing that money. And the person that you trusted with your whole life savings completely betrayed you. Okay. Minnesota investment scam statistics. In 2023, 404 Minnesotans lost $51 million. In 2024, 542 Minnesotans lost $62 million. And then if we're talking about elderly, 145 Minnesotans lost $21 million. Folks, what I'm talking about here is 100% preventable. This is money walking out the door. This is money that people are giving away. And this is the reason why I'm here to talk, right? We need to bring light to this dark situation and save these people from themselves. This was all cryptocurrency, by the way. All right, so we'll talk about romance scams. Please, if anybody has any questions, speak up. If you want me to kind of move on from the scams, I can do that too. But a confidence romance scams is where they develop an emotional connection with somebody in order to gain money from them or gain access to their financial information, right? It can be combined with a pig butchering scam. It isn't only cryptocurrency, right? But it is moving that way because cryptocurrency is so easy to get and to use, right? They combine emotional manipulation with financial fraud. Once they have established this trusting relationship, they then ask for money to solve a crisis. And some have said like their kid needs surgery or that they are being human trafficked, which is probably true. And that if you pay this amount, then you can free them, which is never true. You will never buy their freedom from a human trafficking compound. And some have said they want you to send them money because they love you so much and they want to come visit you. Maybe some of them want to get married.
I had a friend who went through that one, and
yeah.
Bless his heart, he did send money, and it was one of the Russian women schemes, because there are plenty of those out there. It was a Russian woman. Somehow he took up with her. He is or was a bit of a womanizer, so I guess I'm not surprised. But he did end up sending her money, and at some point, and I don't remember how this happened, he had a Ramsey County sheriff officer on his doorstep. And I don't know if it was an investigation or if they were trying to arrest him for doing something improper. But yeah, I had a friend who went through this.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they would get in trouble themselves or become a part of a criminal investigation, whether or not they were the victim or the perpetrator.
Because they sent money.
Well, no, it could be a
Yeah.
couple of things. So I'm not going to conjecture, but you have like, who knows who the age of the other person, right? And so now maybe that person was underage. You don't know that, right? You're interacting with somebody that you don't actually have any verifiable information of who they are. It could be that the information that he provided was then utilized in a crime, like they used a social security number in a crime. And so he would be the victim. But when you look at it from the outset, not knowing what all happened, it's like, oh, this guy is bad. He's laundering money, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so there
I
are.
mean, I have one quick example that I can't
Oh,
say I'm embarrassed by because nothing happened with it, but someone friended me on Instagram. They liked my
mm-hmm,
profile.
mm-hmm,
Supposedly, we had mutual friends. And then
mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, here comes the ask, oh, can you send me money? And whoever was in trouble. And I then unfriended them. And they had profiled my son and said to my son, your mom
Yep.
unfriended me. It was just really weird that they would even do something like that, that they wound up
So
profiling my son and saying to my son, your mom unfriended me and I'm a good person.
they were targeting your son. They weren't targeting you. And
Oh,
I have a specific
oh,
example of that later on,
okay.
because it's so nefarious. It boils my blood.
Okay.
But
Good to
every
know.
love story that ends in a wire transfer should raise red flags. If they are asking the person to go and buy a bunch of gift cards, that's a concern. If
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
asking the person to go to a Bitcoin ATM and put in money, that's like a Perkins-sized red flag. Okay. They are especially common in older adults and those who are isolated. So when I talk to veteran communities, a lot of my veterans are just isolated, whether by choice or by circumstance, right? The World Health Organization has declared loneliness is an epidemic and a global health priority, right? If you have lonely grandparents, here is your sign, call them today. Okay, I gotta find there we go. Okay, whoops, I lost everyone. Let's see if I can get everyone back. There we go. Next one. Oh, confidence. Okay, so they will use, it didn't even go forward. Let's try that again. Okay, so here are some examples. I love this first one. That's my red marker, by the way. It says, yes, my king, first I must know many things about you. What is the name of your first pet? What is your mother's maiden name? What is the name of the town you were born in? What is that? Can anybody tell me what that is? That's an account.
Passcodes for all sorts of accounts.
Correct. That's an account takeover. So that person is trying to take over the account.
And you know it's a foreign person by the grammar problem. I must
correct.
know anything about you.
Yep, exactly. And then I love the last one. I'm very sorry for invading your profile. Girl, stay off my profile. Like unless I went to high school with you and I know you personally, you are not getting on my Facebook profile. But people are lonely and they want, I see you to be a peaceful and nice woman with a golden heart of friendship. Look at all those beautiful things said about me. They're going to be nice and appreciative of you. They're going to shower you with love. They're going to talk about love at first sight or faith or fate or destiny. They're just trying to get you to pay attention to them, right? Let me do a time check. Okay. So then these are real news articles. I don't understand it. Just like Ron said, I don't understand why it's so popular to be military personnel or oil riggers. But a lot of times, scammers will impersonate a military personnel or an oil rigger or celebrities. Now, we're going to talk about impersonation scams, which is a completely different subsect of scams. But in this case, with regard to romance scams, they do use the tactic of impersonation. So you see that how I fell victim to a romance scam using AI deepfake videos and lost 17,000 pounds. I fell for a charming Armory Colonel on Tinder, and it cost me $25,000. A Kiwi, somebody from New Zealand, divorcee, loses $580,000 in a 14-month romance scam after falling in love with a U.S. oil rig worker. I do find it interesting that people do not understand. So being in the military, I know how much those colonels get paid. So there's no reason for anybody to have to send them money in any manner. Also oil riggers, they get paid really well and they get flown to and from those oil rigs. And so the plight that is used to hook people into these doesn't make sense to me, but that perhaps is something that we need to socialize a little bit more. So going on, a woman in France was scammed so she divorced her husband, and she lost over $800,000, and she sold her house. So now she's homeless, divorced, and has no money, all over a scam, thinking that she was dating Brad Pitt. Keanu Reeves is the #1 most impersonated celebrity. It is so bad that a woman named Becky Holmes wrote a book on it, and it's a really like heartfelt but sad book, and I do recommend reading it. But in essence, he's always putting out public service announcements saying, I don't have a media profile. I don't have a social media profile. But people continue to think he does and then give him money because they think they're dating him. I love this one. Is your cyber sweetheart swindling you? Roses are red, violets are blue, and romance scammers can fool you too. Look for these red flags. I think the biggest red flag is when they ask for money. You think you're in a relationship with someone and they're asking you for money. With romance scams, there's always a sense of urgency. Urgency is the psychological tactic used to get you to make quick decisions quickly without thinking them through. It's always a red flag. And that goes for all scams. If it's urgent, you need to take a step back. And that's my public service announcement to you.
I see if Susan has her hand
up. Oh, go
again.
ahead, Susan.
When you say they think they're dating Brad Pitt, can you define dating?
No, I don't think that I can. They think they're in a relationship and they're going to marry this person. They believe truly that they are interacting with either their phone calls, their video chats, their text messages. They are communicating with this celebrity and that they are going to marry that celebrity, but they just need to pay their $50,000 hospital bill. So online romances are something that is exploited by these scammers. So if your cyber sweetheart is far away and you can never meet them in person, or they live nearby, but you can never get a chance to meet up for coffee, it's really a scam. If they look too good to be true, both physically or financially, or both, that's a scam, right? If they ask you for money, it's always a scam. One of the people that I did this presentation to, she came up and told me that her sister thought that she had met and was interacting with a doctor from San Francisco. And they were in love and they had been communicating for about 4 months or so. Her sister was very lonely, divorcee, had been divorced for years and had finally filled that void. And so she really thought this doctor was a real person from San Francisco. But this doctor kept asking her for money so that they could come and travel to her so that they could get married. And every time she gave them money, there was always an excuse as to why they missed their flight or they weren't able to make it. Emergency room, I got called to the emergency room right as the plane was leaving, those kind of excuses, right? Clearly that's a scam. Clearly this woman could see that her sister was in the midst of a scam. And when she tried to interact with her sister on it, her sister just said, you don't know what you're talking about. He loves me. You're just trying to separate us, right? Because the psychological hook was set so deep, right? And so there are, and I'll talk about resources when you do encounter somebody like that, because it does happen.
Does it ever make sense to try and set up the scammer to respond and play along? Obviously never send money.
No.
But does it ever make sense to do that?
No. This is kind of like my last thing, but I'm going to say it here. Radio silence is the only thing to do with scammers. Complete radio silence, because the minute you respond, guess what? They know there's a warm body on the other end of that telephone number, email address, social media platform. They know there's a warm body there. And so what they're going to do is they're just going to hand your number over to the next person, or they're going to try a different tactic, or they're going to send you a easy pay toll. And then they're going to get $75 from you because you forgot to pay your easy pay toll in Michigan, right? Radio silence, no response. Don't tell them, I know you're being human trafficked. I'm so sorry for the horrible existence that you are experiencing right now. I really do feel for you. I'm sorry. Don't do it. Radio silence, just ignore them. All right, confidence scams. In 2024, 323 Minnesotans lost $9 million. So this is a romance scam. They gave their romance scammers $9 million from Minnesota alone. We're talking about a $16.6 billion industry from the United States alone. And then romance scams, crypto losses were 62 Minnesotans losing $2 million. And then the elderly, 138 Minnesotans over the age of 60 lost $6 million. Again, 100% preventable. This is money where people are giving it away. So, educating and bringing light to the situation is going to at least stop some of this. Phishing scams. I'm sure everybody is aware of phishing scams. Does anybody know what happened in St. Paul, where it shut down the 911 for 12 hours? So there's a phishing scam in St. Paul, and a member of the Parks and Rec fell for it and allowed and gave their credentials over to a scammer or hacker, more or less. And so luckily, that hacker only got access to the Parks and Rec files and folders. And so they were able to kind of screw with the water bills, but that was about it, right? It could have been way worse, but thankfully that's what happened. But that hacker shut down the 911 response system for 12 hours. So they had to route 911 elsewhere, which is, that's a huge concern, right? With phishing, you just want to, when something is asking you to click on something, you just need to vet it before you do. Always take a breath, right? I'll give you some examples. You have your FedEx package was unable to be delivered. Click here. So when you click here, understand that that is controlled by the scammers. Your Easy Drive, Easy Pay tool, right? You are supposed to pay $2.99. When you actually click on that, they're going to, it's going to be more than $2.99, right? And this one I love. Apparently somebody purchased a MacBook Pro from Russia. Like they didn't even take the time to spoof the phone number. Russia called this person. But that is something that we need to be conscious of, right? Like they are spoofing phone numbers, which is why it was mentioned that we do appreciate when the cell phone companies are identifying that it is a spoofed number. It's an IP address as opposed to a real telephone number. And so then they're notifying us. This is one that I got. I did a screenshot of my own phone. Apparently, I was issued a refund from the Department of Revenue last year. I knew for sure that I paid in, so I knew this was a scam immediately because I had to pay into taxes. But you can see the urgency. So first of all, the Department of Revenue, that's a really weird, website. But then look here, failure to submit required payment information by September 23rd, and then it gets cut off, but it says will result in the loss of your refund. Then I looked at the country code. This is Morocco's country code. If the Department of Revenue has jobs in Morocco, sign me up. I will quit today and go work in Morocco. But in all honesty, they didn't even bother to spoof the number. But again, like stuff like that, especially during tax time, you're going to get a lot of spoofed emails and text messages and phone calls about tax information. They had an issue. There was a public service announcement. Was it AARP? I think put it out to be careful about clicking on things and putting in your credentials for your tax return because people were stealing that information and then rerouting your tax return.
I get things like that FedEx text all the time, not from, yes, from FedEx, but from Amazon, from Microsoft, and many times they come by email.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I have trained myself to do is to look at the email address. It says from Microsoft accounts, and then if you highlight that, it'll say it's from XYZ at Belgium.uk or whatever. It's not a correct email address.
Correct. And that is a great first step. I do have a story about getting an email that was a hacker or a scammer's email. So because AI is becoming more and more prevalent, the scammer was able to spoof the email so it looked correct, but it used a Cyrillian text as opposed to like Times New Roman or other things. And so the web address looked correct, Except when, and it took an FBI investigator to realize that one of the letters within the email address was a Cyrillian letter that looked similar to like an A in Times New Roman, but it was a different letter entirely. And so it is getting to that minutia where it's a problem. And so again, just pausing before you respond to something is always really good. And then really looking at that email. And then of course, you can see on the screen, like the notorious, your computer is infected. Here's my 2 cents on that. Never call the phone number or click on anything when you get a message like this. If you do get a message like this, always, and you do have some sort of antivirus or some sort of program, always call the number that you have in the pamphlet that you got, or Google their customer service number, because I can guarantee you that that number that's on the screen is controlled by the hacker and controlled by the scammer, right? So you call that, and you're gonna go talk to a scammer who sounds very professional and is willing to help you. You just have to give them all of your login credentials. So phishing is a low risk, low reward. Phishing is where you just kind of throw out a broad net and see what you can get. 834 Minnesotans lost $875,000. That's about $1,000 a person. Although we know that that number is just a statistic. Some lost way less and some lost way more, but those are the reported. 45 of them were from cryptocurrency. So 419,000 in cryptocurrency. That's half of the total loss in 2024, right? Was in cryptocurrency. So you can see how cryptocurrency is risky. It's high risk, right? And then 177 Minnesotans over the age of 60 lost $160,000.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay.
No, that's okay. I'd love to have you keep going, but maybe you want to hit highlights at this point.
Sure. Impersonation scams is a scam about authority. This is a letter that was received by a victim from the FBI. And so when you do a thorough scan of it, you can see that this is the proper FBI emblem. It's in the right place, but no FBI person is going to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in a professional FBI letter. And then you have to look at the web or the email address. Wayne Jacobs is an actual FBI agent, but his address is Wayne Jacobs at USA.gov, not USA.com, right? So like, as a veteran, I constantly get official looking documentation. I have to take a second look at everything. And then here are some impersonation scam statistics. The one that is concerning is the 85 over the age of over the age of 60 is $1.7 million, because our elderly are scared when they get called by their bank and that person knows a lot of information about them. They are scared. We've got employment scams. These are scams in which they're just offering you a job. You should never have to pay to get employed. You should never have to pay for a certification. You should scrutinize paying for some sort of training to make you more employable. And then you need to be careful about giving your personal information thinking that you are getting a job. Here are some examples. 248 Minnesotans lost $1.6 million in the year 2024. As you can see, the elderly didn't lose very much because the hope is that they aren't looking for jobs. So then here is a statistics. On the top is the amount lost, and on the bottom is an age range. You would think that the elderly lost the most, but if you look, these two aggregate to $62 million. And so they really are targeting those who are just going into retirement, assuming that they have the most money. And they also are looking for investments, right? The one statistic that I cannot stand, and this is going to reach back to the story that was shared with us. This is the under 20. So essentially, 196 Minnesotans under the age of 20 lost $53,000. They are targeting our children. Carter Bremseth was a 16-year-old varsity golfer from Olivia, Minnesota. He ended his life due to a sextortion scam. He was targeted. Essentially, what they're doing is they're friending people. They're figuring out who their target is, and they'll friend the people around them. And And then when they go to introduce themselves to the target, the target sees that they have other friends, and so they must have met this person at like a football game or or at a basketball tournament or something, right? And so then they get to their target, and then they start engaging with their target until the target sends them either a compromising picture or even a picture in general, because it doesn't have to be a compromising picture. They can use AI to make something or a deep fake to make something look compromising, and then they threaten to expose them to the public or their school unless they pay, right? But they are targeting high school male athletes with this. And so since they are attacking my children, it makes me really mad, and I want everybody to know. And so then I can skip through here, takeaways, red flags, what to do if you are scammed. Here's a list. This came off the AARP website. Evidence to gather, again, the AARP website. Here are some preventative measures. There's a lot of guides. There's cell phone safety measures. Like it's amazing the people that I've talked to and presented how many of them have already implemented cell phone safety measures for their grandparents. One of the things that we talked about is the grandma safe word. So if anybody grew up in the 90s like I did, and your parents worked opposite shifts like mine did, a lot of times you got picked up by a neighbor, right? Well, we had a safe word in which if it was somebody that I didn't recognize, that they said that they were there to pick me up. And in all honesty, it was my neighbor, Irvin, Mary, that always picked me up. But in the end, like, we had a family safe word. We need to implement that. Obviously, if you're a grandparent or your parent is in the stages of dementia, this won't work. But if they aren't, it's a way to prevent them from becoming victims of the grandma scam, where because you only need like 3 seconds of somebody's voice, which you can get off a voicemail, in order to create a video or a voice recording that sounds really a lot like them, right? And so, oh, grandson, I'm so sorry that you're jailed in Mexico, and this must be very scary for you. I'm totally willing to pay your $20,000. What's the family safe word? What's the grandma safe word? And when they can't answer that because they won't know it, then you know it's a scam. And then here are some more resources. At the bottom are more Minnesota-based resources. The Department of Commerce has a reporting link. When you have a senior individual who is in the throes of going to marry Keanu Reeves, but they just need to pay his $50,000 hospital bill, right? And you cannot convince them otherwise. Tara Ambrose and her team are amazing. They have language, they have resources to help. Tara Ambrose is the ombudsperson for the Department of Commerce Senior Fraud department, and they have a lot of police, and having a policeman show up to talk to them sometimes can really just break that psychological hold they have. And then you have the Minnesota Department, the Minnesota Elder Justice Center. There is no income verification for this help. They advise on all kinds of legal matters. They have they are an organization that supports elders who are victims of these types of crimes. All right, that is what I came to say, and I thank everyone for their time.
Wow, I had no idea. I mean, I've certainly seen little bits and pieces of all this. I didn't realize some of the things that were going on. The most important thing is to get information out to people about preventive measures and what to do if you unfortunately have fallen prey to somebody. Susan, your hand's up.
How do you check an email address? I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, and so I'm not an IT expert, and I'm sure that we could work together to find an IT individual who could talk about safety measures with that. But a lot of times what I do is I'll just copy the email address and then put it into a Word document so that I can see the whole thing.
Right, and mine's even simpler than that. If I go up to the sent name in my email function, it turns blue, and I can actually get the email address. So if I have the name that says John Jones, and I go up there and I just put the cursor over it, it will give me 123XZQ at some goofball address. And so you can just see it that way. And if you get one of those weird addresses, you know that it's fake.
Yep.
So, Samir, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for this presentation. It's been, I think you could go hours on these.
You're right. You're right.
I was curious, like if you plan to update the presentation at some
I
point,
do.
if you could add like a slide on spear phishing specifically. Like I wanted to give a quick example. Like I was a
Yes.
victim of spear phishing without even being involved in it because my employer, the HR the head of HR at our at my former employer got a spear phishing email purportedly from the CEO and accidentally gave out the login to our cloud payroll information. So all the employees in the Minnesota office, their payroll information was leaked, and the following and
Yep.
that very year, we had someone tried to file a fraudulent tax filing on my behalf.
Yes.
So you can be a victim of phishing without even being in the loop, essentially.
Yes, and how scary is that? I'm very sorry that you experienced that. That was probably something where it took a lot of energy and time to figure out and then be compensated. One of the things I didn't mention is that the Attorney General of the Minnesota has a compensation fund, which is funded not through taxpayer money. It's funded from fines and fees that the banks pay when they violate people's privacy or have other things, and so people can be made whole if they are experiencing. You have to just kind of jump through the hoops. And then the second thing is I really love that example, and I am going to update that. I have to pull the 2025 IC3 data. There's also a lot of updates that have come, but in the end, I am specifically focusing on money that is 100% preventable. Like you could not stop your employer, right? You had no control over that. I'm talking about where people are actually just giving their money away. They're like, oh, I have this relationship with somebody and they need $10,000. I'm going to give it to them. It's the heart of Minnesota. It's how nice and how nice we are, right? And I want to tell Minnesotans to stop being so nice.
Lynn Carlson, your hand's up.
Thank you. Okay, couple things. I used to work for a defense contractor, so
Yes.
scamming was routine. We had to do training monthly. It was mandatory. I went on vacation one time and put an out of office on my email, that I'm out of the office from here to here.
Yeah.
And somebody got that message, got in through my email and sent out
Mm-hmm.
info to the admin to say, hey, I need help. Can you get back to me? The admin was smart enough to call my cell phone at 3 in the morning and said,
Nice.
what do you need? They had to shut down my whole email account at work. And
business email compromise is one of the most is one of the highest scam. It's the most popular scam that doesn't have to do with like investments.
Yeah. And then, okay, so for today, now this is real freaky. There was another Lynn Carlson on this video, and it was not me.
Who was that?
I don't know. I've been chatting with Curtis, and he figured out who it was, and he says the account is the same as my account. So now I'm really freaky on that.
Oh no.
Well, I was watching that person. It was apparently a female.
And exercising.
I saw her put a coat on and leave.
I don't know who that was.
Well, you get the prize. You get the prize for scams today.
Was that a scam?
I don't know.
Lynn, it was your account. It was the same account as yours, or same account information.
Yeah, so maybe we want to look into that. Change your passwords. Change all your passwords and then log out of every instance. So like when that happens, like Facebook, you can log into multiple computers. So like your regular computer, your phone, it can all be logged into Facebook. So when you change your password, you have to specifically say, I want to log out of every single instance.
Okay.
Wow.
And I usually am very good that when I log into Facebook, I log out. I don't leave anything.
Yeah, that sounds like your Zoom account might be also compromised if you have a login that's already signed in.
Correct.
Wow.
So I mean, in furthering the conversation, wouldn't it be wonderful to find some IT professionals and I've gone to some of the Shamrock updates, and they've brought on, people who are talking about the technical aspect of this. And that's just more information. Like this is absolutely something that we can work on. We just have to talk about it. We have to talk to our grandparents, our parents, our children. And then we have to give them the information to be successful. But I'm working with the Egan School District to kind of get in and do. I met he's a finance teacher, but he is one of the coaches for the football team. He wants me to come in and do and have this conversation with his football team because they are targeting high school male athletes.
Wow.
So if anyone wants to join the fight, please join the fight. Help me in this. But if you have somebody that, like, even a person, I'll talk to anybody. I'm a lawyer. I get paid by the word. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
If you have somebody who needs to hear my message, let them know and I will talk to them. I don't care if it's one person. I don't care if it's 100 people. I will talk to anybody.
Any last questions, folks? Great audience.
Yeah. What is Kindahl's contact information? How do we get in touch with Kindahl?
I'll put it in the chat. Oh, nope, sorry. That's not it. Let me edit that.
There's a period in there that shouldn't be there, right?
Yep, correct. I just put in.
There's also Kindahl J.
Yes. So I've gone away from Kindahl J because that has a lot of emails. That's an email address I've had for a really long time. Oh, stop.
Okay.
Because of that, I miss emails. So I created a new email that's one that's specific. If you want to contact me, I check it. And then I don't lose emails or miss them because I have a lot of like spam that comes in on Kindahl J.
You'll see I sent an email to you and Gary Hansen about just connecting you guys up. So
hopefully by the senior caucus, I'll have the updated numbers for 2025.
Wonderful. Unbelievably fascinating. Scary. Thank you for the phenomenal good work that you're doing. You and I have a very similar habit, and that is to drive court reporters crazy because we talk fast.
I have been told numerous times to slow down.
As have I. Curtis, you want to take us